Hi, and welcome to season 3 of Money Talk. This season, we're shining a light on stories of resilience. You know, the kind of ones where life kind of takes you to the edge of your breaking point, and yet somehow or another, we find the will to rise and to come back. But we don't come back the same, do we? No. If we're really paying attention, we're actually building back better because we don't want to go back to where we were. And sometimes the most difficult path includes forgiveness. Forgiveness, when you want to resent the hell out of the things that happened. Am I the only one that's feeling this? Has anyone else been there? If you have been, put a 1 in the chat. And if not, put 2. And it's okay, whichever one you are, because everyone is an observer. When I lost my home in January, I spoke to so many people staying in the hotels that FEMA provided us access to. We were all asking, where the hell were all the firefighters that were supposed to save us? Where was the water? When none of this and none of us could find answers, we were all trying to figure out collectively how our community of multi-million-dollar homes and even the small mobile home parks that had ocean views, by the way, could have sustained such a tragic end with everything destroyed in its path. Well, almost everything. Weirdly enough, some of the homes that survived in my own neighborhood were owned by some of the meanest people, the meanest ones in our neighborhood, that their homes survived. And I'm like, why me? Why not them? As if any of us deserved any of this. Well, forgiveness is never easy. It's the weight that keeps us chained to the past. It's that dark shadow that follows us whenever we go. And then it triggers us when we get this allergic reaction to a situation that reminds us of the past. And if you're online a lot or in games like I am late at night, you know that there is an app called The Dark Shadows that will help you or try to help you shine a light on the triggers that help you keep down and keep you held back. But forgiveness, forgiveness is like the light coming down, like the sun shining. When it finally breaks through, it's the key that unlocks the freedom to your healing and to your hope. And so today I have one thing that I want to ask. Actually, I want 2 things. Don't keep this great stuff to yourself. As you watch other people's stories of resilience, share this, forward it to other people. And the other thing is, you know, as we say in the business, we'll be right back.
I can show you how to be strong. Come on, follow me. Heard you looking for a hero. Well, look up, look up, look up, look up.
I got something to give. I have something to say. You know you got something to do.
Welcome to the stage, Linda Kaye.
And we are back. And I have to tell you that, you know, when you do have something to say and you do have, you know, you've got an obligation to tell other people, because if you can get through something and other people see your struggle and they see themselves in your struggle, that story is a story of every man's struggles. And everyone struggles with something or 1,000 things in their lifetime. And it helps us provide a path for growth, not only for ourselves, but in the storytelling to others that will help them. Our guest today knows this truth deeply. After years of trauma and silence, she found herself drowning in resentment and depression. But in 2023, she made a choice to surrender, to heal. And I'm going to let her tell her story. And I'm going to give a warning for those listeners that are out there. There are some things that she's going to talk about, things about sexual abuse, things that happened that would traumatize anybody, a healthy person, let alone somebody that has had this happen to them. And if this is something that will trigger you, that maybe you want to get somebody to watch this with you. But in 2023, she made a choice to surrender and to heal and to step into a life filled with faith and creativity and purpose. And since then, she has published over 50 books. Now, you look at this young woman and she's very young. Like, how is she doing 50 books? And we're going to ask her this question. She's built a business teaching others how to create and sell on Amazon, and now helps people through her story overcome both personal and professional obstacles. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Dominika Blaszczok. Hello and welcome. Whoop,
Hello,
right
everyone.
Can you hear me? Okay, everybody's pushing buttons. Hands up. Hi there. Hi, Dominique. Talk to me and tell me, where are you from, first of all?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. It's so lovely to speak on such a powerful topic with you today. So I actually grew up in Poland, but I've been living in Ireland for the last 16 years now. So that's where I am right
Wait a
now.
minute. We're on Pacific time zone. What time zone are you in right now?
I think it's like Central, like Europe. Yes.
Wow.
So it's like,
you're like
7 p.m.
You're 8 or 9 hours ahead of me. So it's 10 p.m. there, I think, right? Oh, so yeah, you're 9 hours ahead. Holy schmoly. Well, thank you so much for getting the act together and being here today for us to talk about such an important topic. Talk to me a little bit about, how did you end up from Poland to, I think you stopped in the UK before you went to Ireland, and I can see the transition from UK to Ireland, but how did you get to the UK?
So I was actually just in Ireland all this time. And so the way that it happened really was that my parents decided to just take me, my sisters on a holiday to Ireland. And we actually ended up staying here, which I kind of knew it's going to happen because 3 of my older siblings used to already live here. And I kind of had the suspicion that we're gonna stay here, but they were just saying, no, it's a holiday, but we ended up staying here. So that's kind of how it happened. And
now hold on, because that's kind of like here in the United States, we have a term for it. It's called bait and switch. They tell you it's going to be one thing, and then they switch over to another. You seem to be okay. Oh, you seem to be okay with that. And would it have been tougher if your other siblings hadn't been there?
It probably would have been. I mean, some of my siblings, they really struggled with that decision. But myself, I kind of always seen it as a better opportunity for all of us. You know, it was always hard to think about leaving behind the friends and, you know, being used to the language and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I moved to Ireland without knowing much English. It was just the very basics. I couldn't speak it. I couldn't understand it. And so it was difficult in that aspect, but I mean, I always seen it as it's actually better for all of us to be like here for the moment. So,
well, that's an interesting thing. So, were things bad in Poland that you had to leave Poland? Because nobody thinks, you know, hey, I grew up here in the United States, or I grew up in the Philippines, and it's time for me to leave. Are there the work situation or the political situation, circumstance, so that it required your family to think, I can't make it here, I can't have a life here?
Yeah, pretty much that's how it happened. Like, so we moved here when it was 2009. So back then, you know, you didn't really get much help from the government or anything like that in Poland. But also my parents had a business and, you know, it was successful in ways, but then they kind of got into a lot of debt and stuff like that. So we actually did end up moving because that business just was not profitable for them. And it just seemed like a better option to try to move somewhere abroad and, you know, find some kind of work or be closer to my 3 older siblings as well in the process.
Well, it's interesting because, Dominika, many people here in this country come from multiple generations and, you know, throw their hands up and go, I just can't find work and I'm just going to go to the social, you know, line of life and look for opportunities for the government to take care of me, or, I just can't start a job, or I have to just work at this menial task. Your family doesn't have that. Do they come from generations like my own family did of entrepreneurs?
No, actually, they started a business without knowing much about business. Nobody really in my family had a business before. So, they were successful in ways, but I suppose this is probably number one reason why it wasn't successful for them, because they actually didn't have a community of other people that they could learn from. They didn't have
Sure.
somebody to kind of rely on and to take the lessons from them. They were trying to build something that was brand new, and yeah, it just didn't really work out for them. So
That's interesting. So off to Europe you go, and you don't look back. Do you ever regret? Do you ever have a time where you're looking back and going, "Gosh, I wish I was there," or I miss the people, or I miss the food. I mean, I've seen some pictures of fantastic food and the culture of Poland through the eyes of friends of mine, and I've never imagined it's such a beautiful place.
I mean, of course, it is a really, really beautiful place, and I miss parts of it. But to be honest with you, because I grew up here, I moved here when I was 12 into Ireland. I'm more used to being here. That, like, to be honest, I feel like if I were to go back to Poland, I wouldn't really find myself there anymore. So at the end of the day, I'm really happy to be here. Although I don't see myself living in Ireland for all of my life. I see myself living somewhere maybe more like Spain or somewhere really
I'm with you,
warm.
girlfriend. I'm with you. I was on my way to Spain when my house burned down, so I can relate to that. That's amazing. So, Dominique, you're a very young woman, and a very beautiful young woman, but you had something happen to you by somebody very close to you. This is your time to tell me your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for, listening and for allowing me to be vulnerable here, because at the end of the day,
Of
it's not
course.
easy to tell this story, but my story, the way I look at it now, it's beautiful because I found forgiveness. So basically what has happened over the years is I actually experienced a lot of trauma, even in childhood in Poland. I watched my dad cheat on my mom and stuff like that. So I carried a lot of anger with me since I was a child. Then we actually ended up moving to Ireland, and things weren't looking too great.
What year did you do this? What year was this?
So when I watched my dad cheat on my mom, I was about 4 or 5 years old, from what I
So childhood
remember.
impressions mean a lot, don't they?
Yeah, yes. So basically, I took all of this anger and resentment with me throughout the years. And of course, I had love for my parents and all that stuff. But still,
Of
as a
course.
child, you
We love
don't
them,
really
but we
want
don't
to
like
see
the
that.
things they do. They say this about the
Yeah,
kids often. We love you, but we don't like what you're doing, right?
yeah,
So it goes
exactly,
both ways.
exactly. Yes.
But now you're 12 years old. You're in Ireland. What year are you there?
Yeah, so this is 2009, and we just moved to
Okay.
Ireland. And, we were trying to build our life from scratch, basically, because, my parents had debt. And so my mom found a job, and we were living okay. But, in kind of, you could say, not poverty. We had the roof over our heads. We had the food on the table. Wasn't much, but we always were fed, clothed and stuff like that. But of course, because they had a lot of like debt and stuff like that from Poland, there was always that pressure that everybody felt around the house. What if we won't be able to pay it off and stuff like that? So they obviously affected
There's always,
us.
you know what? That's an
Yeah.
interesting point that you're making, Dominic, because it isn't just because you moved to another country, and it isn't just because there were 3 or 4 family members to be fed. I think that's every man's. Every family worries about, do I have enough? But if we have enough of what it takes to be alive, if we have shelter, if we have food on the table. I grew up very poor, and there were 9 of us children to be fed by my parents, and there was always this anxiety of being able to meet. But the kids don't feel this. They don't really see this. And in fact, I didn't know we were poor until I went to middle school, and somebody asked me if I was wearing the same things from the year before. It never occurred to me. But let's advance to 2018, shall we?
Sure,
Let's take a look and see through the struggles you're still managing, you're figuring it out. What happens in 2018?
So actually a little bit before that, so 2017, what has happened was my dad sexually assaulted me, and obviously that really messed up my life. And afterwards also
As
my
it
dad
would
actually
any
sorry.
as it would anybody's, Dominique. And
Yeah,
did he do
yes,
this once, or was this repeated?
exactly. No, so it was only a one-time thing, and it wasn't, you know,
And
like,
and audience,
yeah.
please understand, whether it was one or 1,000, it's wrong.
Yes, exactly. And it doesn't matter how far it went, it's still wrong. It's always wrong. It's somebody I trusted for my life, and this happened. And afterwards, what happened also was that my dad actually ended up in prison, and because of the deaths in Poland and stuff like that. And I actually used to visit him in prison as well. So after he did that to me, I also visited him there in prison as well. And at the time I was still in school, I was doing a living certificate, which is like the last year of secondary school here in Ireland. And I was actually always the A student. I always had great grades. I always used to be the best student in the class every single year of secondary school. So nobody would even suspect something like this is going on in my life, because it was so strange. On Saturday or Sunday, I would visit my dad in prison, meet him face to face there, just visit him for a little bit, and then on Monday I would go to school and try to pretend that everything was fine, when obviously it wasn't fine. But I had nobody to talk about this, and I actually couldn't even share it, because I grew up in a home where we were told to keep everything for ourselves, that it's safer, that people will judge us. And I understand, because even me now sharing it, some people might be judgmental about it. But look, like, that's how it happened, and that's how it is. There is no change in the past. We just gotta move forward and become better and wiser over the years. But yeah, so it was
Let me
really
ask you
strange and
something.
difficult. Yeah.
Let me ask you something, Dominique. Was there a shadow of shame that you carried with this? A shadow
Big
of
time.
shame that you couldn't share what had expired between you and your father, let alone your father's shame. You're having the responsibility of carrying the shame of his circumstance and not being able to share this. What did that do to you?
So yes, it was really, really difficult, because I always used to be this person who was happy and very optimistic, and people would always come to me with their problems, but I was never a person who was able to go and share my feelings with others. So I started keeping everything inside of me. And obviously, I became very hateful and resentful because of everything that happened in my life, because of everything that I went through, which, of course, it's normal. It's pretty understandable. If you don't get help, or you're looking for help in the wrong places, you're gonna end up really messed up. So that's what happened to me. I was looking for help in all the wrong places. I was thinking that maybe like smoking weed would help, but then I stopped eventually because it was messing up with my memory. Then I got into alcohol, and then I obviously stopped. I went to college, and I tried to kind of live a normal life, but it was always haunting me. Everything that I went through in my childhood, in my teenage years, it was always haunting me, because I couldn't forgive. I had a lot of resentment, so much hurt because of that. And it prevented me from living a normal life, because I kept reliving it all the time in my head. It was there nonstop.
Just when you think that you have it out of your mind, you can go to sleep and have the dreams, or you can wake up and you see something that triggers you. Talk to me about your redemption.
Yes. So actually what happened in between like 2017 and 2013, which is like 6-7 years, I actually became so depressed that I became suicidal, and I really, really thought I will end my life because I just could not sleep. I was being like haunted. I relived my trauma so much to the point that I was so hurt I didn't see a way out. And actually in June 2023, I exhausted all of my options, and one night I prayed out to God to fix me or take me away, because I was really actually going to commit suicide the next morning if I would wake up. And it's actually so beautiful what happened next, because God actually physically revealed himself to me in my room, and he showed me what forgiveness is, and he gave me a physical hug, and he helped me to forgive, and he changed my life entirely. So he kept me here. I truly believe that he kept me here for a reason, to share that he's real, and that we can actually in fact forgive whatever we went through, because he showed me that I shouldn't be blaming my parents for what I went through. I shouldn't be blaming myself for what I let happen as well, because I often allowed I just ignored red flags. And God showed me that forgiveness is not because we are letting somebody off the hook. It's we are allowing ourselves to live to our fullest potential without allowing the past to hurt us anymore. And he showed me that actually I shouldn't be putting blame on people and myself, because it's spiritual. Evil, it's real. And a lot of the times when we live, majority of the times when people live apart from God, they do really bad things. This is why it happens. It's not because somebody is evil, but because the evil exists. And God gave me so much love, so much happiness in my life, that he transformed all of my life completely. And like you already said in the introduction, I ended up becoming an author. I publish my own books now, and I coach people about mindset, and I teach people about God, who he really is. So it's a beautiful story. And honestly, when I look back on my life, I actually wouldn't change a single day of my life, even the traumatic things, because they allowed me to see who God really is. And I know that it's almost shocking to hear that, but that's the effect that God placed upon my life, and it's really beautiful.
So take a breath there for a second, Dominika, and let us catch our collective breaths here as well. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to think about a young woman in her teens with all of her life to look forward to, and thinking about ending her life because life is bad. I have lost a brother to suicide, so I understand that despair, and I can never understand the extent of despair that will allow you to actually take and act on taking your life. But I understand the despair, and you through it all. And Andre Crouch sings a song about through it all, and if you've not heard it, please listen to it. It's a great story, but through it all, I learned to trust in God. And you found that faith that gave you that guiding light. It led you to finding a career, and I'm going to call it a career because it is a career, allowing you to be anywhere in the world. So you can be virtual, you can write the books, you can do the things that you want to do, and you can reach people on a worldwide basis, which is why we have the web to begin with. But talk to me about the books. What are you writing? What are you writing about?
Yes. So actually, I only wrote one full book, and the rest of my books are actually very simple, like coloring books, planners, journals, and activity books for children, something that just allows me to be as creative as I want to be, maybe in parts heal my inner child as well in the process.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yes.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
journaling, was journaling a part of your journey back?
I mean, yeah, of course. I really enjoy journaling and planning, organizing. I've always loved planners and organizing stuff. So I sometimes couldn't find a perfect planner for myself. So I was like, I'm just gonna design one. And then I said, why not share it with other people? And now other people get to buy it and be organized, stay organized in the process, which is beautiful. Yes. And then
So
coloring
now,
books
of
have
course,
people. Yes,
I'm going to guess that you're self-published on Amazon. Is that right?
I am. Yes, exactly.
And so this helped you understand that there is a platform for commerce, that there is a platform to be able to reach people and to be able to sell something that you have, that there's a market for it. Was it a sort of a hit and miss for you that you had to figure out, or were you just simply writing for what you love to do and hoped that somebody would come and eventually it began to sell? Tell me how that happened.
Yes. So actually, at the time, I was working a normal 9 to 5, and I did not enjoy that life. I always knew I am meant to be
Who does?
self-employed. I always knew that I am meant to be some kind of business owner and work on my own
Yeah.
terms. So I
Yeah.
started diving deeper into the world of Amazon KDP, and I said,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. So the very first book that I published was a simple notebook, and it was really bad. It did not sell. So I said, okay, it's clear that it's not because nobody wants to buy it, the product is bad. So I just made better and better books each
Okay.
time. And I
And
started publishing
how were
more
you
and more.
testing to hold on? How were you testing to see does this resonate with an audience? Am I building an audience? Am I getting an audience? What was your litmus test of figuring it out and testing it?
I mean, I was just going for it and trying loads of different types of book niches. And I said, okay, this sounds interesting. A coloring book with Bible verses. Let me publish something like that. Oh, a journal about mindfulness or something. Let me try that. So it was a lot of trial and error. And in the process, I ended up building like a passive income stream through it. And eventually it also helped me quit my full-time job last year. And yeah, so it's been
Yay! You quit
a
the
great
full-time job.
journey.
Hold on. I wish we had a soundtrack for applause. Good for you. Good
Thank you.
for you. Listen, there is life after 9 to 5 jobs, and it's usually called
Yes.
self-employment. Many people are afraid to start something, but what you're hearing is that she wasn't afraid to test it. She wasn't afraid to fail. She wasn't afraid to keep trying until she found something that she was doing that somebody else liked. That's a story for everyone. Keep going. Tell me more.
Yes, so I was literally just trial and error, publishing different types of books. And this year I published my very first actual written book called Her Final Prayer. And it's a story about like my life, my journey, and actually me trying to find God. So it's a beautiful story of, trauma, but also redemption. And it tells a story about the fact that God is real and God can help you fix all of your problems. So it's a beautiful, beautiful story about my life. I don't carry any shame about what I went through, who I was, what I used to sound like, because this book actually has kind of two parts. It has part one, which was mostly written in 2017. So that was me without God, hateful, angry, resentful. And then part two actually was mostly written this year. And it's a completely different person. It's like two different people wrote it. So the God
And
just changed
and
my
it
life
is
so much.
two different people did write
Yeah.
it. That's the
Yes.
before and it's the after version of you. How do people
Exactly.
find you? I want to have time enough to scroll your content across the screen about how people find you, what your books are, and also we want to put into the chat your Amazon link so people can find your link and find your book, because it's a story of inspiration, perspiration, and a perseverance of continuing to carry on and to keep going. We're nearly out of time, but I want to ask you one really important question. Dominika, what do you say to that 2018, 2017-year-old woman today?
I would just say something like, try to turn to God quicker. Don't try to figure it out by yourself, because God has always been there for you. And that God that you're really trying to find, he loves you, he cares about you, and he wants you to find out who he really is. He wants you to feel loved and forgive, because you are meant to create a beautiful life for yourself, and you're gonna change other people's lives in the process. So just hold on,
Oh
because
my gosh.
it's going to
Hold
be worth
on.
it.
Definitely hold on. Dominique, thank you so much for joining us today. What a beautiful and inspiring story. And I hope that you have much more continued success. I know you're teaching people how to make money on Amazon. And for those of you entrepreneurs out there that want to quit that 9-to-5 job, she's a person that you would likely find very delightful to speak with and to talk with, very easy to understand, and especially teach you the shortcuts, because she figured out how to make money on the KDP platform as well as Amazon. So Dominique, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I hope that you guys are transformed with this story, because we can, we can break through whatever we are going through. If you turn your life over to God, He can.
Oops, I'm so sorry. I cut you off.
No
well, thank you
problem at
again.
all.
And thank you. All right.
Thank you so much.
And that's it. That's a wrap for us today. I want to thank all of you for being here today. Know, like, and share what we are doing. And if you have a message, we want to hear about it. See you next week. Season 3 of Money Talk isn't just about money. It's about recovery, resilience, and expansion, so you can build back better. Your house doesn't have to burn to the ground, but if your business or your life has, and you're ready to share your story, I want to talk to you. Contact me at Linda Kaye 360 or call me at 424-395-2885. Remember, your setback is a setup for a comeback. And I promise you, you'll inspire others to get back up one more time with your story.